Ethan sat in the dimly lit room, headset pressed tight against his temples, when the world shattered in an instant. A scream tore through the silence, sharp and hollow, as if a voice had been dragged out of static itself. His screen cracked into violent pixels, avatars twisting into distorted fragments, collapsing into endless loops of broken code. Words scrawled across his vision in red, trembling letters. "You were never meant to be here." Ethan's breath caught in his throat as his avatar flickered like a ghost and shadows leaked from the walls. Then, something impossible appeared, a figure that looked exactly like him but older, its face worn and hollow. The figure whispered, its tone brittle as glass, "The real you died long before you put on the headset." Ethan reached out, but his hand passed through air as the figure dissolved into dust. For the first time he felt more trapped than free, his body no longer certain of its own boundaries. Ethan gasped, ripping the headset off, but the room did not feel real anymore. The walls bent slightly inward, shadows stretching in unnatural ways. He whispered, "That wasn't part of the system." His chest ached with panic, each breath shallow. For years VR had been his refuge from loneliness, but now it betrayed him with impossible whispers. He turned on his desk lamp, only to see the glow flicker, with static like the headset feed. His reflection in the monitor seemed to blink half a second late, as if it lagged behind him. He muttered, "I'm still inside." The floor creaked under Ethan's feet, as though it were coated rather than wood. He stumbled toward the window, needing proof the outside world still existed. He pulled the curtain aside, but the street outside was unnervingly still. Cars froze mid-turn. People stood, paused like statues. A woman on the sidewalk stared blankly forward, her mouth open in silent scream. Ethan whispered, "This isn't my city." The sky above rippled like stretched glass. Ethan's phone buzzed on the desk, its screen flickering between contact names he knew and strings of corrupted code. He answered, his voice cracking. "Hello?" A distorted voice replied, layered like many voices at once, "You don't belong." Ethan dropped the phone, heart hammering, but the device kept speaking from the floor, voice deepening into a growl. He pressed his palms to his ears, but the words burrowed into his skull like static. The room grew colder, condensation forming on the window despite the heater running. Ethan's breath fogged in the air. A pulse rippled through the walls, bending posters and shelves like paper. Suddenly, the VR headset lying on the floor powered on by itself, its display glowing red. Ethan staggered back, whispering, "You should be off." The headset speakers crackled, replaying the shadow's words. "The real you died long before you put on the headset." Ethan sat slumped on the bed, headset still glowing faintly on the floor, his hands trembling as he tried to steady his breathing. He told himself, "This is exhaustion, nothing more." Yet every flicker of light in the room seemed to bend unnaturally, like the fabric of reality had softened. He remembered the voice of the shadow, echoing with brittle certainty, and the words gnawed at him. To calm himself, Ethan reached for a notebook, the one place he could draw avatars he wished he could become. As he sketched broad shoulders and strong features that were not his chest tightened. Outside the VR world, he was fragile and invisible, but inside he had control. He whispered, "In there I matter." The more he drew, the clearer the divide became, and his loneliness pressed heavier on his chest. The notebook page blurred as his eyes watered, though he refused to let tears fall. He whispered again, a broken vow, "I won't go back to being nobody." Hours later, Ethan forced himself out the door, city streets glowing with neon signs against a gray afternoon sky. He shoved his hands deep in his pockets, moving quickly, hoping no one would notice him. Yet people brushed past without recognition, as if he were air. He thought of the avatar he built, powerful and respected, everything he was not. His chest tightened with shame. At a small cafe he spotted Lily, his only real friend, waving from a corner table. She smiled warmly, her presence a fragile anchor against the storm in his head. Sitting across from her, Ethan muttered, "I don't think I'm okay." Lily leaned forward, eyes kind, whispering, "You don't need to carry it alone." For a moment, the city noise faded. Yet, Ethan saw shadows flicker in her reflection in the cafe window, as though the metaverse had followed him here. Inside the cafe, Ethan clutched his coffee cup with both hands, the warmth grounding him. Lily spoke gently, "You've been disappearing more into the metaverse." He avoided her gaze, staring at the swirling surface of the drink. He whispered, "It's the only place I don't feel erased." Her hand reached across the table, resting lightly on his wrist. "Ethan, you're not invisible here," she said, her voice trembling with quiet conviction. He wanted to believe her, but his reflection in the cup seemed to glitch, half his face flickering into the avatar he longed to be. His breath hitched and he whispered, "Even now, it won't let me go." Lily's brows furrowed with concern, but she did not pull her hand away. For the first time in days, he felt something real tether him back, though the digital world clawed at his edges. Ethan walked home under fading daylight, the streets stretching longer than they should. Streetlights flickered between warm orange and static blue. He muttered, "I'm still inside." His footsteps echoed unnaturally, delayed as though the sound lagged. He remembered Lily's words, but they felt fragile against the whispering in his head. At an alleyway corner, he froze. A younger boy stood there, staring at him with wide, innocent eyes. It was Noah, his younger brother, who had just begun exploring VR. Noah smiled brightly, saying, "Ethan, I wanted to see your avatar." The innocence in his voice stung Ethan's chest. He crouched slightly, forcing a smile. "Not tonight, Noah," he whispered. Yet in the boy's shadow, he saw flickers of code bending, as if corruption was already reaching him too. Back in his room, Ethan sat cross-legged on the floor, Noah's hopeful face still haunting him. He whispered, "I can't let it take him too." His headset sat on the desk, glowing faintly, as if calling. He resisted, but his hand twitched toward it anyway. The notebook with his sketches lay beside him, pages filled with avatars stronger, braver, untouchable. His stomach twisted as shame mixed with longing. He said aloud, "If I don't go back, I disappear. But if I do, it consumes me." His reflection in the dark monitor shifted suddenly into the shadow version, older and broken, staring back with hollow eyes. Ethan recoiled, heart racing, but the image lingered. He whispered, "Which one is real?" The silence answered him, heavy and merciless. Ethan sat in the darkness of his room, headset glowing faintly on the desk. His chest burned with restless anger, the memory of Noah's hopeful eyes pressing heavy on his conscience. He muttered, "If I can't protect him here, I'll protect him there." With trembling fingers he placed the headset back on. The metaverse loaded with a violent surge, its city towers shimmering like digital glass. Ethan's avatar materialized taller, stronger, radiant in the crowd. Strangers turned their heads, admiration flickering in their eyes. For a moment, Ethan felt the power he craved. But then a ripple tore across the sky, and from the crowd emerged Marcus, the antagonist, his smirk sharp and cruel. Marcus's voice echoed across the plaza, "Even gods here bow eventually." Laughter from the bystanders rippled like a cruel wave, making Ethan's triumph crack into humiliation. His fists clenched, but doubt gnawed inside. Marcus circled Ethan slowly, his voice dripping with venom. "Tell me, hero, what happens when the mask is stripped?" Ethan's avatar glitched faintly at the edges, betraying weakness. He forced his voice steady. "I'm not afraid of you." Marcus leaned close, whispering, "Everyone's afraid, especially you." His words sank like knives, pulling murmurs from the crowd. Some avatars whispered cruel jokes, their laughter cutting deeper than swords. Ethan's chest tightened as humiliation pressed in from every angle. He longed to strike back, but the fear of breaking held him still. His ally Lily appeared from the crowd, her avatar simple yet steady, eyes blazing with defiance. She shouted, "You don't own him, Marcus." For a heartbeat, Ethan felt less alone, though doubt continued to strangle his confidence. Marcus's eyes shifted toward Lily, his smirk twisting into something darker. "Ah, the loyal friend," he sneered. Let's see how long loyalty lasts. With a snap of his fingers, Lily's avatar convulsed, her image stuttering like corrupted code. Ethan shouted, "Stop it!" but his voice cracked with helplessness. Lily gasped, trying to steady her stance, her voice strained. Don't let him break you." The crowd watched like predators, waiting for Ethan to fall. He felt rage burn under his skin, but fear chained him still. Marcus leaned back, arms spread as if basking in power. "This is your strength? Pathetic." Ethan's avatar flickered again, muscles fading for an instant into his frail, real self. The moment of weakness drew laughter sharper than any blade. The plaza dissolved into chaos, avatars chanting Marcus's name. Ethan clenched his fists, nails digging into palms, voice trembling. "This isn't who I am." But Marcus roared, "It's exactly who you are, weak." Ethan staggered, memory flashing of his empty real-world life, the loneliness he could never escape. Rage erupted, raw and unfiltered. He shouted, "I am not invisible." His avatar pulsed with violent light, digital armor surging brighter. For a fleeting moment, the crowd went silent, watching in awe. Marcus smirked again, unfazed. "Good, now you're worth breaking." The words twisted like iron in Ethan's chest. His defiance had only fed Marcus's hunger. The line between humiliation and fury blurred, pulling Ethan further into the spiral. As Ethan's energy dimmed, Marcus snapped his fingers again, this time targeting a smaller figure in the crowd. Noah's avatar appeared, fragile and innocent, drawn into the chaos. Ethan's heart stopped. "No," he whispered. Noah's avatar smiled shyly, unaware of the danger. Marcus chuckled. "Everyone you love is mine to crush." Ethan's knees weakened, torn between terror and rage. Noah reached toward him, saying softly, "I wanted to see you here." The innocence in his voice split Ethan open. Marcus's laughter thundered, drowning out Ethan's trembling plea. "Don't touch him." The crowd leaned closer, sensing blood. Ethan realized the metaverse was no longer a refuge. It was a cage tightening around everyone he cared about. The plaza's tension thickened as Noah's innocent smile cut through the neon chaos, his small form a fragile spark in a storm. Ethan stepped forward, shouting, "Leave him out of this." Marcus tilted his head, voice calm yet dripping cruelty. "You don't decide the rules here." Before Ethan could react, a familiar voice rose from behind. It was Daniel, his oldest friend, his trusted ally inside this world. Daniel's avatar strode into the circle, sleek and confident, clad in silver armor with a faint glow. Ethan's chest filled with relief. "You came," he whispered. Daniel smirked, but something in his eyes seemed colder than before. He placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder, voice low. "Of course, you'll never fight alone." Yet his grip lingered too long, heavy and sharp, as if it wasn't comfort but possession. Ethan's relief faded as he noticed the crowd's murmur shift. Whispers grew louder. "Daniel's here. He's chosen." Marcus grinned knowingly, folding his arms. Ethan turned to his friend, confusion in his voice. "Chosen? What does that mean?" Daniel's smirk deepened. "It means I'm done being your shadow." Ethan staggered back as Daniel pulled his hand away, eyes sharp with envy. "I was always in your corner, Ethan. Always watching you get the respect I deserve." The words struck harder than Marcus' cruelty. Ethan shook his head. "Daniel, you were my brother." But Daniel's laughter echoed bitterly. "And that was your mistake. Loyalty gets you nothing here." The crowd roared, sensing betrayal rip through the heart of the scene. Ethan's stomach twisted, words choking in his throat. "Why?" Daniel stepped closer, his armor glowing brighter, reflecting his newfound authority. "Because I'm tired of being less. Tired of hiding in your shadow." Marcus chuckled darkly, watching with delight. "Envy is the sharpest blade." Daniel turned his gaze toward Noah, his voice cold. "Even he looks at you like you're a hero. But I see you for what you are, a fraud." Ethan's hands shook as he reached out desperately. "Daniel, don't drag him into this." But Daniel raised his weapon, silver light sparking along its blade. Noah flinched, retreating a step, eyes wide with fear. The betrayal cut deeper than anything Ethan could endure. His chest cracked with rage and grief as the world spun around him. The crowd split into jeering factions, some chanting Marcus's name, others cheering Daniel's bold betrayal. Ethan's voice cracked as he shouted, "You were my brother, my family." Daniel sneered, blade hovering menacingly. "And what did that make me? Second best?" The blade glowed brighter, casting harsh reflections across Ethan's armor. Lily appeared again from the crowd, her avatar trembling but defiant. She cried out, "Daniel, this isn't you." But Daniel didn't falter, his tone like iron. "This is exactly who I've always been." Ethan's knees threatened to buckle under the weight of it all. His closest ally was now the knife at his throat, and Marcus watched with unholy joy, feeding on the destruction of bonds once unbreakable. Time seemed to slow as Daniel raised his blade higher, his betrayal echoing louder than the crowd's chants. Noah cried out, "Stop!" His innocent voice cut through the noise like lightning. Ethan lunged forward, not to strike but to shield his brother. He shouted, "If you want to break me, then strike me." The words tore from his throat, raw and desperate. Daniel's expression flickered for a moment, hesitation trembling across his face. But Marcus leaned forward, voice a whisper in Daniel's ear, "Do it." The hesitation hardened into resolve. The blade slashed downward, but Lily hurled herself between them, light from her avatar scattering in sparks. Ethan screamed, "Lily!" The betrayal was complete, but its price was far heavier than Daniel intended. Lily's body flickered as her avatar absorbed the blow, sparks raining down like dying stars. Ethan caught her before she collapsed, his voice breaking. "Why would you do that?" Lily gasped, "Because you still matter." Her form glitched, light bleeding from her chest like a shattered screen. Daniel froze, blade trembling in his hand. For the first time, doubt clouded his sharp expression. Marcus sneered, clapping slowly. Beautiful. Betrayal and sacrifice in one scene. Ethan cradled Lily, tears burning his eyes. She whispered, "Don't let them define you." Then her avatar dissolved into dust, leaving Ethan clutching empty air. The silence in the crowd was heavier than noise. Ethan rose to his feet, grief transmuting into a fury that shook the code around him. "This ends tonight," he growled, voice trembling with broken resolve. The ground beneath Ethan cracked, glowing lines of code spilling upward as if the world itself shivered with his grief. Noah shouted, "Ethan!" His young avatar stumbled forward, trying to reach him. Ethan's body trembled, his avatar pulsing with unstable energy. Marcus tilted his head, voice low and chilling. "The metaverse isn't a stage. It's alive. And it feeds on you." Ethan staggered, clutching his head as whispers filled his ears, thousands of voices overlapping, chanting his name. He gasped. "What? Are you?" Marcus smiled faintly. "Not what. Who? I am the will of this place." The words shattered Ethan's last certainty, twisting reality until the plaza dissolved into shifting voids of code. Noah clung to his arm, terrified. Ethan realized the metaverse was not a game at all. It was a living prison that hungered for his soul. The world bent violently, towers stretching and melting into endless fragments. Ethan's shadow appeared once again, stepping from the void. Male 28, gaunt, hollow-eyed, draped in torn cloak, a mirror twisted by time. The shadow's voice echoed, layered and cold. "You never lived, you only borrowed masks." Ethan shouted, "You're not me!" The shadow smiled faintly. "I am the version that rotted while you hid. You abandoned me when you put the headset on." Noah's frightened voice broke the moment. "Ethan, don't listen." Ethan's fists shook as he confronted his own reflection, older, broken, inevitable. Marcus spread his arms, triumphant. "You see? Even your soul betrays you." The plaza dissolved fully into a black void where only Ethan, Noah, Marcus, Daniel, and the shadow remain. Ethan's breath came heavy, each inhale like broken glass. The shadow stepped closer, whispering, "You can't defeat me because I am you." Ethan roared, "I'm nothing like you." His avatar flared with unstable light, but the shadow's aura wrapped around him like chains. Daniel watched, torn between envy and regret, his blade lowering slightly. Marcus leaned close, whispering in his ear, "This is your chance. Finish him." Daniel's jaw clenched, eyes darting between Ethan and Noah. The boy whispered, "Please don't." The shadow placed a hand on Ethan's chest, and for a moment, Ethan felt his heart stop. His body buckled as memories of every humiliation, every failure in the real world, replayed before his eyes. The shadow whispered, "This is the truth you've always run from." Ethan collapsed to his knees, crushed under the weight of his own failures. The shadow loomed over him, whispering, "You already died long ago." "This is only the echo." Noah screamed, running forward, but Marcus snapped his fingers and code walls surged up, blocking his path. Ethan raised his head, eyes burning with tears and fury. "No," he rasped. "I'm still here." For the first time, cracks appeared in the shadow's form, light seeping through its hollow frame. Marcus's grin faltered slightly, while Daniel stared at the sight, conflicted more than ever. Ethan pressed his palms against the void, light radiating outward, his defiance cutting against despair. The shadow recoiled, whispering in anguish, "You can't erase me." Ethan growled back, "Then I'll face you." Ethan rose slowly, light rippling from his cracked form, his chest heaving as if every breath tore him apart. Noah cried out behind the barrier, "Don't give up." The words anchored Ethan, piercing through the suffocating void. Marcus sneered, eyes glowing with predatory hunger. "Stand if you like, but this world is mine." The shadows circled Ethan, whispering poison. "Every mask you wore was to hide me." Ethan clenched his fists, his voice raw. "No. Every mask was to survive you." Daniel's conflicted eyes darted between Ethan and Marcus, sweat glistening as his blade trembled. For a moment, silence fell, the void bending inward as if waiting for a verdict. Ethan's body pulsed brighter, energy rippling outward. He screamed, "I won't be erased." The void trembled as Ethan charged, colliding with the shadow in a storm of light and darkness. Sparks of code rained down, illuminating the battlefield. Marcus clapped slowly, delighting in the spectacle. "Yes, break yourself for me." Ethan shouted, "I'm not breaking, I'm becoming." The shadow hissed, "You can't exist without me." Their forms collided, merging and splitting as the lines between them blurred. Ethan glimpsed flashes of his real face, pale and broken, alongside the radiant avatar he had built. Daniel stepped forward, blade raised, torn between siding with power or redemption. Noah's desperate scream cracked the air. "Ethan, fight for who you are." Ethan roared, striking the shadow with blinding force, the void shattering like glass. The impact flung Ethan backward, his armor cracking like shattered glass. He coughed, dropping to one knee, while the shadow loomed taller, its voice reverberating. "Every weakness you hide I carry, and I am endless." Ethan spat blood and growled, "Then I'll carry you with me." The shadow's hand pierced his chest, code sparking violently as Ethan screamed. Marcus stepped closer, savoring the moment. "Do you feel it? The prison swallowing you whole." Daniel's hands shook violently, his face contorted with regret. Noah pounded on the barrier, tears streaming. "Don't let them win." Ethan's trembling fingers grasped the shadow's wrist, holding it back with sheer defiance. His voice, cracked but unbroken, rasped, "You don't own me." Daniel finally screamed, "Enough!" He hurled his silver blade toward Marcus, the weapon embedding in the ground at his feet. Marcus turned, his smug grin cracking. "Traitor!" he spat. Daniel trembled, voice breaking. "I can't let this destroy him." Ethan felt strength surge at Daniel's choice, his aura flaring brighter. The shadow snarled, recoiling as light poured from Ethan's wounds, burning through its chains. Noah's voice echoed, "You're more than this, Ethan." Marcus extended his hand, summoning walls of code to crush them all. But Daniel intercepted, summoning barriers of light. Ethan screamed, "I will not disappear." His energy erupted, a blinding explosion tearing across the void. The explosion shattered the void, fragments of neon glass spinning into infinity. Ethan stood at the center, light coursing through every crack in his armor, his body trembling but unbroken. The shadow staggered, its form splintering, light bleeding from its hollow frame. "You can't kill me," it whispered, "because I am you." Ethan raised his head, eyes blazing. "Then I'll live with you, not under you." Marcus staggered back, his control faltering for the first time, eyes wide with fury. Daniel collapsed to his knees, drained but free from chains of envy. Noah ran through the broken barrier, clinging to Ethan's arm. Together they faced the collapsing void as the metaverse roared with fury. The climax thundered like a storm, but Ethan refused to bow. The void flickered violently, neon shards collapsing into darkness as Ethan held Noah close. His armor dimmed, the light inside him flickering like a candle fighting the wind. Daniel crawled closer, his voice hoarse. "I was wrong, Ethan. I thought betrayal would make me strong." Ethan's gaze was heavy with grief but not hatred. Strength isn't destroying others, it's carrying them. Marcus staggered forward, his suit fraying into lines of code, fury boiling in his voice. "This isn't over. You're nothing but prey." Ethan stepped forward, shielding Noah and Daniel behind him. "Then let me be prey that refuses to die." His aura flickered, unstable but blazing with stubborn resolve. For the first time, Marcus's eyes betrayed fear. Marcus raised his hand, summoning waves of collapsing code like a tsunami, threatening to swallow them whole. The roar was deafening, the void trembling like a beast. Noah clung to Ethan's arm, whispering, "Please don't let go." Ethan gritted his teeth, his voice trembling but firm. "I won't." Daniel pushed himself to his feet, summoning a faint barrier of light that cracked under pressure, but gave Ethan one chance. "And this," Daniel croaked. Ethan nodded, raising his hands, light radiating from within his shattered armor. His body screamed with pain, yet he poured everything into one last strike. He roared, "This world doesn't own me." The light surged forward, colliding with Marcus's wave of destruction, igniting the void with blinding brilliance. The clash erupted like thunder, sending shards of neon glass spiraling outward. Marcus screamed as cracks spread across his body, his form collapsing into static. "No, I am this world," he howled, but the light consumed him. Ethan staggered, nearly collapsing, Noah and Daniel steadying him on either side. The shadow emerged once more, male 28, hollow eyes softened, its form half dissolved. It whispered, "We are one, whether you like it or not." Ethan raised his head, exhausted but resolute. "Then I'll walk with you, but I won't be ruled by you." The shadow paused, then bowed slightly before fading into the void. The silence that followed was vast, broken only by Noah's shaky breath. For the first time, Marcus's laughter was gone, replaced by peace tinged with sorrow. Light poured through the cracks as the void began stitching itself into silence. Noah clutched Ethan's hand tightly, whispering, "We can go home now, right?" Ethan smiled faintly, though his body shook. "Yes, but it won't ever be the same." Daniel lowered his head, guilt written across his face. "If you can't forgive me, I'll understand." Ethan placed a trembling hand on his shoulder. "I can't forget, but I can choose not to hate." Daniel's eyes widened, tears falling silently. For a moment, broken bonds were stitched by fragile threads. The world flickered, pixels reshaping into the faint outline of Ethan's room. Noah's voice trembled with relief. "It's ending." Yet Ethan's heart pounded with unease, as if one final strike was waiting. Ethan opened his eyes in his real bedroom, the headset lying on the floor beside him. Noah sat across from him, still pale but alive, staring in silent awe. Daniel slumped against the wall, shaken and broken. Ethan touched his chest, feeling his heartbeat, raw, real, and trembling. He whispered, "I'm still here." But then the monitor flickered to life on its own. Across the black screen, red text scrawled in jagged letters. Another one logged out. Ethan froze, the blood draining from his face. The words pulsed once, then vanished, leaving the room in silence. Noah whispered, "What does that mean?" Ethan stared at the empty glow of the screen, his voice breaking into a whisper. "It means it's not over."